Hello and welcome to this week's episode of Fratello Talks. I'm your host Nacho, and today I'm joined by my colleagues
Alex
and
RJ.
And today we are going to be talking about a brand that is celebrating its 30th anniversary this year, and that is Lange Söhne. Of course, but before we do that, let's get into wrist check. RJ, what is on your wrist today?
Achtung. Today
Here we go.
I'm wearing my bracket, the Tradition. It's the 7027. In yellow gold, and it's 37 millimeters, and I wear it a lot. It's a nice kind of dress watch.
Cool.
Yeah.
What kind of strap is that? It's really nice.
It's it used to be a lizard.
It was once.
Now it's a strap.
Born a lizard. Now it's a strap.
Yes, it's a blue lizard strap, and I had it custom made by ABP in Paris.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
With the help of Lex.
Nice, very nice. I like the no stitch, nicely tapered.
Yeah.
It's a classy look.
Yeah.
Beautiful color.
No balding fuckle in sight. It's the way to do it.
Nice.
Perfect. Lex, what is on your wrist today?
I think I'm actually wearing something German because this gives me such German vibes.
By proxy?
By proxy. It's German by proxy. It's an Abel 1911 world timer in two-tone.
19 Alp.
Yeah, but I really feel this has such strong German vibes to me. It's 1990s, early 2000.
Abel is big in Germany,
very,
right?
Yeah, and also big in the Netherlands, actually. I have to say. So, it's a weird creature.
Boris Becker had one.
Yeah, well.
Yeah.
Speaking of German,
and Tim Vaux, shout out to Tim Vaux, not German, British, but has the older version, not the newer version, but very cool. It's a two-tone, right?
It's very
studio lights fooling me
it's
here. Wow.
It's also very bad for the retina.
Very jealous of our audience that got the full wrist roll experience.
Oh my god, yeah.
Okay.
Definitely.
And
right.
moving swiftly on.
Yeah.
Well, I'm also wearing a upcycled lizard here. No, it's my Omega Seamaster from 1961, and very also nice. on a lizard strap.
That's the one you had recently serviced?
Yes, it was recently serviced. So sharp-eyed viewers will notice that the crown is also different. It is now this more of the era type crown because the other one had been replaced. Shout out to Gerton for sorting it out.
Yeah.
Nice.
Awesome. So let's jump right into Lange, a brand that is celebrating its 30th year anniversary this year. Obviously, we've seen some of the watches that have come out this year. I believe that the biggest one to celebrate was celebrating the anniversary of one of the collections, right, and not the brand as a whole, the Handwerk Kunst.
They brought out some celebratory watches, but of course the Lange 1 is the star of the show.
The Lange 1.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And we should also say that this is the anniversary of the second life of
exactly
Lange, because they're way older, of course.
Yeah.
But
of the second chapter, the chapter that's still currently being written. So RJ, would you like to tell us a little bit about the brand, a little bit about this second chapter?
To be honest, I only know more or less about the second chapter.
Right.
First chapter was a long time ago. The brand was resurrected, I think, after the, how do you call it, reunification of Germany.
Yeah.
And so they are located in Glashütte, which was formerly Eastern Germany. And there are a number of watch manufacturers in Glashütte, and not all, but most of them are on the same street even. It's quite interesting. And Lange was, I think, resurrected with the help of Walter Lange, so one of the family members, and in 1994. And on October 25th, it was. And then the introduction took place of the Lange 1 watch. And I think it was then with the help of Blümlein.
Günther Blümlein,
yeah. And that's a little bit before my time. Perhaps you know a little bit better.
He played a really big part. He was very influential. Also did a lot of great things for IWC, of course. And he was very influential in the
October 24th or 25. Yeah.
Getting the Lange show back on the road.
Yeah.
Which is it's fantastic. If you see what you could say that the eastern part of Germany was had it bad during the war, and then they had it very bad during the Cold War, and with all the the watchmakers being put together in this. I think it was called the Glashütte Uhrenbetrieb.
Yeah, you have these Goop watches.
Watches, exactly. And then, of course, perestroika, and then the fall of the wall in the. Was it in November of? Was it November?
Isn't it October 3rd? October 3rd, right?
Yeah, October 3rd, something. Yeah.
And it was all because of.
Of course, of David Hasselhoff.
It couldn't have happened without him.
And then but the great idea. Yeah, well, they still had the Glashütte was still there, and then that was I think is a fantastic idea from Walter Lange. So shout out to Walter, my main man Wally, for doing that. But the history is, of course, is very impressive. If you go to you've been on a Lange Söhne factory tour probably
multiple times. Yeah.
And when you're in Dresden, and it's also fantastic that they kind of built Dresden, and of course the old Lange Uhrenmacherei is more of a Dresdner affair, where they have the special clock in the Semperoper that they later the digital mechanical digital clock that they later brought back in the what's the name of the watch now, the
Lange one.
No.
It's Zeitwerk.
Yeah. So and then it's been a success story, I would say, from the very start.
And I think especially the Lange one. And what I find interesting is that in such a relatively short period,
30 years.
Yeah, it's really an iconic watch. And
do you like it? Do you like the look of it?
Yes, I do. It's always since I started becoming interested in watches, like proper mechanical watches in the 90s. I remember in the late 90s, I had these German watch magazines, Uhrenmagazin and Chronos and so on. And they had this beautiful spread advertising of Lange Uhren, Lange watches. It was super nice. And it was always, that's a cool watch to have. And the Lange one is still high on my wish list.
Yeah.
I really like it, and I like the first versions. So from 1994 to 2015, it was more or less like unchanged. You had different versions.
Yeah.
But they had that beautiful. The first movement was the 901 L901 movement, and 90 was for 1990 because then I think the design started.
Yeah, right.
And then the one for the first movement, and I think in 2015 they changed it. They changed the movement. They changed the construction a little bit, and they changed the bezel width, and so small changes. But it's still a beautiful watch, whether it's from the first generation or the current one. I think they're all beautiful and very specific, and everyone will immediately recognize it as a Lange Söhne Lange one.
Yeah, I'm not sure if I find it a pretty watch, but it's so distinct.
Yeah.
And it also has such the meaning of the watch and what it did for the revitalization of the whole German watch scene is immense. Yeah. And of course, in the German press, they were also the German journalist was so happy that it came out. Yeah. But and then also when you look at the movement, it's so very original with a 3/4 plate. Yeah. So it's
and that's a typical Glashütte watchmaking thing, right?
And so it was also very nice to see something as a little what started as a very small counterweight against what the Swiss were doing, and then fast forward to 2024. If you see. A lot of people are now saying, "Well, Lange is up there with Patek."
Oh, they're knocking elbows there. With those brands.
Exactly.
Well, the annual production is very low, huh? It's a fraction of what Patek does.
Yeah. Of course, because they don't do anything quartz.
In a way, it's a little bit. We've spoken. We've had an episode in the past where we say, how is it that Rolex can do no wrong, right? And I think that Lange has followed, in a way, a rather similar approach in keeping it like very small steps, right? I remember at Watches and Wonders, the first year that I attended, there was a new Lange one, and it had just been slimmed down ever so slightly, and they had to hand you a loop to say, look at the markers. They are, if you compare them both, you had the older model and the newer model, you can see that the markers are however many microns or however many fractions of a millimeter slimmer. And then we've also done this so that it's like little differences where you could only appreciate it with a loop. And I think that these slow steps, sticking to less production, keeping it really just, like they move at their own rhythm. I think that's what's made it be able to become such a strong brand. Not to discredit whatever history came before whatever came before the current chapter, but I think that it's very impressive. And
I have to say, hashtag no spawn, but Lange never disappoints at Watches Wonders, and before at SIHH, I have never been disappointed with any Lange release.
They have disappointed. I mean, what was it called? The cabaret,
perhaps back then. But if I look at those watches now, I think
no. But I still think that there sometimes something happens that. I really enjoy the new. I like the look of the new sports watch. The name is ridiculous. I think, but that's okay. But it's a very much a Lange.
Yeah.
But then the way they then the titanium version, how they position that, the price. I had a few talks there, and it was almost like, okay, so what did you do? You made a titanium version. I think the titanium version is 20 or 20,000 more euros more expensive than the original steel version. Mm-hmm. But titanium is
the work that goes into the polishing each link. And all this,
okay, so but I strongly had the idea that they just thought, you know what, we're going to give it a gray market price. Why have all the scammers get away with the profit? We're going to do this ourselves. So that I thought that was a little bit questionable but
in normally the end, they all sell out. So it also doesn't matter that much, I feel, because every year now we see a Lange being introduced that has like a 6-figure price tag.
Oh yeah.
And it's already sold out before the show ends.
Yeah, but the thing is that with their super complications, and they're always completely original. Yeah. They have their
super impressive.
Super impressive. They have their own approach. They have the finishing that goes into it. That's phenomenal. And then they have this 650,000 euro price tag. Fine, but I thought that with the titanium this year they really kind of pushed it. I
also feel it's like a market adjustment.
Yeah, they did, but I'm not the biggest fan of market adjustments based on what the competition is doing. And I what I like is that I really appreciate their more or less stoic approach.
Mm-hmm.
They just and they given us, I think, phenomenal watches since the line. I mean the datograph.
Yeah. That's amazing.
For me, that's
the one. But hey,
yeah, I know.
But they have a few where you could easily say that's the one.
But also the 1815 and the Saxonia, they are beautiful watches among them.
Yeah, and those movements, right? And then sometimes they do something funky with the lumen.
Yeah.
There was what was it again? They had another name for it, and then Panerai got upset. Remember that?
No.
They came up with something else, and then
the same group.
Yeah, the same group, but they had another name, and then they had to change it. Anyway, I think the lumens are there. They're awesome.
Yeah,
awesome.
Absolutely.
Zeitwerk is
you would pick a Zeitwerk or datograph if there was
datograph.
And you?
I think for me recently, I would have probably said datograph, but I think. I can't wait to see them in person, but the new Lange 1, the smaller version, I think at that size it just has to be incredible.
My little Lange one.
Yeah, the Lange 1.
Lange 1.
It's super nice that they made something designed something in 94 or in the early 90s that looks very distinct, very original.
Well, and timeless. It doesn't feel
completely
like
timeless, and it kind of is like a dress watch, but at the same time, it's also not your typical dress watch. It really is like a watch. If you know what I mean.
There are not
really,
many watches that age that well.
No.
Well,
As a
if
Lange
you
one.
look at anything, like if you look at a lot of other examples from those early '90s times, like even the Omega Seamaster, the Bond watch, you look at it and a lot of people look at it and,
Is it-
and
oh yeah, that's
say,
90s.
Ooh,
Yeah.
oh wow,
Especially
that's,
the bracelets. Oh yeah,
very
that's
of its
90s.
time.
Yeah.
You can't say
With
that.
the Lange one, you can't say it. It could be a
can't-
watch designed today.
Absolutely.
I think that's very
Yeah.
interesting.
Designed today or designed like a century ago.
or a century
Yeah.
ago. Yeah,
That's kind of the beauty
Yeah.
of it. It's truly one of those brands that has there's a magic something, right? Where I remember the first time seeing one, it was I think also a datograph that we had in the office, and it was just brilliant. You look at that movement and just seeing it in person,
And the architecture is beautiful.
The
Yeah.
depth and the scale
and
of
the
it
way
all,
it works. I mean, you when you activate the chronograph and everything,
it's perfection.
And also when
that's
you
what it is.
and when you wear it, there was a long time ago actually. I had the opportunity to wear a platinum version with a black dial.
Yeah.
And you just catch
Yeah.
yourself
I think
staring at
that
your
was the
wrist.
one.
It's
That's the
just
first one that I saw.
So
in
good.
person.
It's
Yeah.
just
And then for me, there's also something else, and I think I have touched upon it in a previous podcast. Is that because we're in this industry, in the watch industry, we're working in this watch industry, that for me it's also important that the people are nice.
yeah, that's a good
Right.
point. Yeah,
And
yeah,
at
yeah.
Lange,
Well,
they are all super, super friendly, super nice, very accessible, approachable. And I think that's also worth mentioning, that they're very pleasant to work with, to meet during events.
Yeah.
That's very impressive. Yeah.
Yeah, and also what I have to say, Wilhelm Schmid,
And passionate.
the what?
They are very passionate about what they do.
Exactly.
Yeah, yeah.
Because and then Wilhelm Schmid, of course, is
CEO.
originally comes from BMW,
South Africa.
South Africa.
Je mag die schrik niet, een leeuw niet schrik maakt niet.
Yeah, and I love the way he speaks in English, but also, well, if you've been in this industry for a while, you also hear some inside news about what's going on, and the man really stands for his manufacture.
Yes.
And he knows his stuff. He, of course, he's a car nut. He's still a car nut. You can have heated debates with the man about sports cars. He likes tiny cars.
Yeah.
So, but he really has become Lange, the face of Lange, and he represents them
Very
well.
charismatic,
very charismatic, and it's also something I think plays a part in how well it goes.
A lot of brands
today.
lack that, to be
and
honest.
of course, we have give a shout out to Tony.
Anthony de
Because-
Haas.
Anthony
Yeah.
de Haas. I mean,
What's his official job title? Head of product development
yeah,
or something?
like that. Yeah,
Director. Yeah.
super talented.
Yeah. And his presentations were always so nice.
Of course,
It's a perfect
attend.
mix of just knowing everything down to the most like minute detail, but also being able to have fun while you do it.
Yeah.
And for me, that was such an unexpected thing when I first, Watches and Wonders, you go past this giant, the giant novelty. They put
giant
it in the booth.
novelty.
We can put a picture up, and you go past it, and it's it's very lots of people in suits, very very like it feels like what you would expect from the brand, and you sit down at the meeting, and then Anthony de Haas comes in, and he's just this very charismatic. He's having fun, and you think, wow, this is it's maybe not what you would expect. You would expect maybe a very very apologies for the
so
cliche, but a very German and a very
It's so
sort
different
of,
from Patek.
Yeah, but it's very different from Patek. But I also think that the mix of people, because so the CEO is he's German.
Yeah.
But he has this South African background, so he's more of a cosmopolitan guy. So and then you have this a loud Dutch guy, because he has these disruptive qualities. And then when you see the other people from the team are way more German, but somehow that
Very
whole
good
mix,
combination.
mix,
it works.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So. There's also a bit of luck there, of course, that the chemistry is right. But I think also that the success of Lange today is there is the
But I
chemistry
think at some
between
point
the
they
people.
also, I think they now recruit is perhaps not the right word, but they got in people that are a super good cultural fit. And I think hiring new people at Lange, you need to make sure that it fits into this very nice dynamic that they have going on there.
Crucial, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, what they don't have, and that's probably, or I don't know, it could be a good thing. What you see with a lot of Swiss brands in the French-speaking part is that there's a big French cultural influence. There's a lot of French people working at Swiss brands.
Yeah.
I don't think that and that has an impact on the culture of Swiss brands.
Yeah.
I've heard people talk about it and in the industry. I think with in Glashütte, look up on the map. Look on the map where Glashütte is. It's am Arsch der Welt, right? Can we say that? Can we say that?
I think that's very accurate.
It's almost a little bit. It's you can compare to the Vallée du Joux in Switzerland, where that it's completely isolated in winter, and where Glashütte is, it's very close to the Czech border. It's in this remote corner
valley,
of
you have
to drive quite a bit from
it's like
the airport.
almost 2 hours from Dresden.
So
that it feels like a long drive.
And of course, the world has gone smaller, meaning that Glashütte is more accessible. But I still, for them, it's easier to keep the right culture with a K than it is maybe for some Swiss brands that are under the influence of Nestle. And although, of course, Lange is part of Richemont, which also, of course, has an effect. But somehow, I always feel that Lange seems to be the most independently operating
they've positioned themselves well in
brand
within Richemont.
Because they don't really follow the trend. Okay, you can say the Odysseus was a bit of a way to get into a certain market, but as they explained it, they said, we have a lot of fans of the brand, customers, and they also want to wear a Lange when they go out on their speedboat.
But don't you also think that, I don't know him that well, that Mr. Rupert from Richemont always also wanted to be a bit separate from the other Richemont brands?
Well,
as a watch brand, how it's being perceived. It's
the good thing is that there is the physical distance because they're really
I think that's a good thing
somewhere else. So and also they're not really in. They're not in like the fastest moving segment. So it's you can't really. What does Baume & Mercier and Lange are in the same group? But is there going to be synergy between the two?
No.
Probably not.
No, that's true.
What do you think the next few years in sort of shorter term, and then the next 30 years for Lange should or could look like? What do you think that there's? What do you think? Do you think the brand should? But do you think they should just keep at it, keep it very just keep doing what they're doing? They're doing great, and or
what shouldn't they do?
A dive watch. No, they shouldn't.
No, I agree, and it's very hard for me to say because I love a dive watch.
No, they shouldn't. I think the Odysseus is watery enough.
They need to get to the water. Stay on the boat. Stay on the boat.
Stay on the boat. Yeah.
But in all honesty, I think that unlike many other brands, I think Lange knows better to do with themselves than that we can.
No, because
tell them to do.
The Zeitwerk was definitely something, not something I saw coming. Also because I never go to the Semper Oper in Dresden.
Really?
Yeah, never.
I have the season tickets.
Would it be if you look at AP, Lange, Patek, Vacheron, Breguet? Would it be Lange the one to have for you? Is Lange the watch that you appreciate the most, or
that datograph that made that like that left such an impression, even more than a classic Lemania based platinum Patek, which was phenomenal. It was a phenomenal watch, but then I think the movement in the datograph is
beautiful.
Is fantastic, and also the proportions are nice, and it has a very distinct look.
Absolutely, yeah. I think
so.
If we're talking modern, current day offerings, absolutely, no.
Yeah, I think
it would have to be. It would have to be Lange.
Yeah.
Although I have to say,
interesting, right?
I have to the inline perpetual calendar from Patek.
Yeah.
That is also something that. But the thing is with
Lex likes the Cubitus as well.
No, no, but let me put it this way. I think that Lange more often now surprises us with great haute horlogerie, where Patek does a little less. Yes, the inline perpetual calendar I think is stunning, and there's now a new one with the first one was in blue, and now it's with the salmon color. Now it's stunning. But
very cool.
But they also but Lange, as you said before, they never disappoint. They always come with something that is just
and they're also more consistent in design.
They're also more consistent in design, and somehow they manage to have this German design language that has its origins in the old Lange story, and then make it work and make it look modern. Which is the typefaces are also just
it's
There's little to criticize.
That's it.
Yeah.
They really get just about everything right, and I think it's exciting to see 30 years have gone by, and then kind of have another 3 decades to look forward to, and even more. I mean, we'll see what the future of
such
the
a
brand
huge
brings,
impact in 30 years. It's incredible. How can you manage to within 30 years get yourself on that haute horlogerie level, classic haute horlogerie level of the likes of
what is the brand?
Patek? It's incredible.
What's the brand that put Glashütte on the map again? Would you say it's Lange?
Yeah, definitely.
So all the other brands who were there also profited from this. They worked hard.
Of
Don't get me
course.
wrong, but
of course
they went to the slipstream.
And it's nice to see Nomos taking a completely different approach, and also
a very respectable brand.
Well, Nomos can be kind of like your first step into finding out about Glashütte. And I remember being in the early days of reading about watches and learning about watches, you sort of go, oh yeah, Germany, they're also making watches. And you find out about Nomos, and you say, oh, this is really nice. Bauhaus influence, all of that. And then suddenly you look up who the neighbors are, right? And then you go, wow, okay, that's you learn about Lange, and you look into it and you think
they look completely different, and yet they are they're also a bit the same in a lot of ways, and they're both very, very German, and it also goes to show that we can't put a stereotype on German people, because they gave us Lange.
We shouldn't. We do constantly, but we shouldn't.
We shouldn't.
Yeah. We shouldn't. It's our resolution.
They gave us BMW, man.
All right, perfect.
And let's stop right there.
I think when we start getting into the cars, that's when we know that we're done talking. No, but that's perfect. Right. So let's get on to our comment of the week, which comes from @DSKA2294. That's an Omega watch, isn't it? The 2294, maybe. I don't know. I don't think so. 2254 is the
229
Peter
could be a
Blake.
Seamaster. Yeah.
But the comment is, I enjoyed your longer format episode. It's like sitting around with some friends talking about something of interest.
I hope he enjoys the Lange format.
That Lange format. Let us know what you think of the Lange format. But that's the whole idea.
Okay.
Talking about interesting stuff. Perfect. Another little reminder, just to leave some questions for our 100th episode Q&A in the comments down below.
Ask us anything.
Ask RJ whatever you want. Ask Lex whatever you want. No?
With Lex, you can ask really everything you want.
Yeah, everything.
Anything.
I'll take the fifth.
Tell you. We'll see. He'll plead the fifth, but please leave your questions in the comments down below, as that episode will be coming up next week. So it's your final chance to ask. And of course, leave your thoughts on Lange in the comments down below as well. And of course, tune in next week for another episode.
Can they also ask questions about our cameraman?
They can ask Matthias.
Is that okay with you?
Why not?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. We'll also ask questions to the cameraman, nothing about how he feels about us. But anyway, tune in next week for another episode of Fratello Talks. See you then.